I'm Luke, and I'm the founder of 3 different e-commerce brands which have all done over 6 figures in sales. And I'm just focusing now on one of these brands, trying to grow it from 6 to 7-figure business. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to manufacture custom hats using factories in China. So that's something I do for 2 out of the 3 brands that I have. I've got my own custom hats, and today I'm going to be showing you all about it. My business model essentially is to use factories in China to make custom products, and then I store them in a warehouse in China, also known as a Fulfilment Center, and then I sell my products online. So whenever I get a sale from a customer, the item ships from the warehouse directly to the customer. So it's similar to drop shipping, except I stock all the products and I make them custom. So today I'll walk you through the exact process to make your own custom hats in China. I'll be breaking down sourcing, designing, making your first prototype, working out payment terms with your supplier, and then eventually making your first bulk order. I'll also be showing you a real case study of a brand that is currently killing it making custom hats, so you can mimic their success. I quickly wanted to come over to this page just to show you my Alibaba profile. So it shows me here that I have 428 total transactions on Alibaba with a total transaction volume of $220,000 US. I'm trading with a total of 103 different suppliers, and in that time we have 12 disputes, which can be a story for another time. However, honestly, it's nothing major. So I've actually been to China, to the hat factory, where they gave me some samples of other clients' work. I got to check out their showroom and also see their whole production line and the whole factory. And to me, that is fascinating. Even one of the samples that they gave me was this McDonald's hat, which I don't know if they are the true real makers for this McDonald's hat. I understand there's McDonald's all over the world. It's a big franchise business. So yeah, they're also making these hats, which is funny. And now I've got one. Okay, in order to make these hats and to work with China, I'm going to recommend the website Alibaba. And so you may hear many different people saying that, oh, there's alternatives or there's better than Alibaba. But the truth is the majority of the factories are going to have a presence on Alibaba. And particularly when you're going to want to manufacture something that's custom, it's going to require a lot of communication between you and the manufacturer. You're going to want to have like a good international sales team that you're communicating with. And so that means if they have a nice international sales team, the chances are they're going to be selling on Alibaba. Okay, to start the search, I'm just going to type in custom beanie into Alibaba. So immediately a lot of options pop up for different hat manufacturers and people who can make custom products. And I'll help you decide which one to choose. What you want to look for is having a manufacturer that has maybe at least 5 years of experience and definitely above like 4.5 stars with a lot of reviews. You can even come to here to click trade assurance, which means whenever you do transact within the platform, so on Alibaba, you are assured that if anything goes wrong with your order, Alibaba will protect you, give you refunds if necessary. So from here, you can start to have a look at the different types of beanie designs or hat designs and see which one sort of matches the style that you want. The important thing to note here is that one factory can have multiple listings showing off the different styles or variations of hat. And typically, most factories can make many different similar types. So if one factory can make a type you like, chances are another one can too. So once you have a design that you like, you can use it as a reference and then provide it back to the manufacturer and say that you want a hat that is either similar to this or has features like this. Okay, so here I've written out an example message as to what I would send a manufacturer in China. And so I'm simply introducing myself quickly and briefly, there's no need for a long message, saying what I want about the product, so include the details, the materials, and different sort of manufacturing methods that you've noticed. One thing that's really great is if you can give like a reference photo. So if you found a product that they've made already that you want to replicate or make something similar to, then include that photo. Here I'm mentioning about a custom care label, as this is commonly a question that they will ask about when you're making hats. Then important, you want to say the units, right? So how many you are making, and you can say that you want to make one sample first before bulk production. Lastly, mention where you're shipping to. So I actually ship to my warehouse directly in China, so I tell them the city. However, if you are first-time clients and you don't have that set up yet, absolutely just send it to yourself or wherever you want to send it to. Short message, but then most importantly is to attach all the relevant files. So that includes, the reference photo that you have, but then everything that you want with the designs. The design of the hat, the logos, everything like that, all the graphics you can include. So what you'd want to do is highlight this message, copy it, and then click chat now and send it to them. And so what I typically do is I then go back to this list and find loads of different manufacturers. So here it's sorted by product. So that means one manufacturer can have multiple listings. However, if you go to all suppliers instead of products, you find the actual factories themselves. And so you can quickly press chat now, chat now, chat now, and open up many chats with all these different factories and send them the exact same brief that you've just typed out. Eventually, they may ask some follow-up questions, like more technical details about the product to give you a more accurate price, but the majority of them will start to give you a price and a quote and mention the lead times. And I like to do this so that I get a large range of different prices for the product, right? So you can easily and quickly find out sort of the market value for what these custom hats are going for and immediately see like which companies are just strictly overcharging. And then between the competitively priced ones, then you want to start doing a little bit more due diligence, finding out which ones have better quality, which ones are more reputable, which ones have a faster lead time. And typically, you can't really go wrong between choosing like the best few that you've found out, but it does help to spend a little bit more time making sure you're picking a right factory to work with. And so my advice is once you have found a factory to work with, you want to get off speaking to them through Alibaba. So typically I use WeChat. And I found it to be really, really helpful just because the messaging system on Alibaba is terrible. But then if you're on WeChat, you have a little bit more of a personal and quicker contact to your salesperson who you're speaking to. And then you can communicate with them everything about the order. And this will help you to work with China more and to liaise with any sort of factories. Okay, something that I want to talk about here is asking them for a catalog. So you simply ask them, hey, do you have a catalog for all your products? And typically they'll send you a PDF just like this one. And so this will give you a lot of great inspiration and idea as to what the different types of products that they can make. So some of these things, you didn't even think would exist, and maybe they're new, maybe they're just recently discovered, manufacturing techniques. But I find it a great way to get inspiration of, their latest and greatest designs, or the ones that they're most proud of. So then you can take these styles, these effects, and use them in your own products. And this factory here, Ang Crown, is actually the factory that I worked with in China. It's the one that I visited, and they were amazing. So I do recommend them. They gave me these free samples when I was there. They treated me really, really well, and I got a nice tour of the factory. So remember that this method works for any kind of hat. In fact, any kind of product, but in this particular video, I'm gonna talk about hats. So whether that's like a 5-panel cap, whether that's a trucker hat, whether that's a beanie, whether that's a regular baseball cap, any type of hat, one factory will typically make a wide variety of options. And then within that type of option, like let's say beanies, there's a lot more different customization options from that point onward. If your design is going to be like quite graphical and you're not an artist, then I highly suggest that you work with a freelancer, typically on platforms like Fiverr or Upwork, to then make the designs for the hats or the clothing, the apparel that you're making. That way you can have a little bit more of a professional feel and hopefully make a nice product. Because think about it, if you're going to be investing $500 to $1,000 into actual inventory, into stock, you might want to spend between $50 to $100 on the design itself. So I'm looking at my phone here of all the pictures that I remember taking in the showroom of this factory and seeing all the different badges and label options, which I'll throw on screen now. And so the level of customization that you have to make these products is truly insane. And that's the benefit of working with a factory in China. Once you've given over all your graphics designs and communicated with the factory about how you want your sample to look, you'll pay a sample fee, which typically costs around $50 to $100 for one unit, your first product. There's a chance that the sample is amazing the first time round and you can improve it straight to bulk production, or if you're not so happy with it, you can make some tweaks, ask them to make it again. They may have another sample fee, which is usually lower than the first one, for a little bit of revisions or tweaks. So when it comes to samples, you have options in terms of, do you want to have it sent to you so you can physically hold it in person and approve it then, or will you be happy with just having a photo of it? So the difference between the two, I find, is mostly just down to time. If you want to have this product made fast and quick, a photo can suffice just fine to approve the quality of the product. Otherwise, you might be waiting a long time to actually have the sample shipped to you and then arrive for you to finally inspect it and approve it, and then the production can start. That's just a personal preference. Here's some footage from when I actually visited the factory and got to go to the production line. So now let's talk about our bulk orders. And the two main important bits here are going to be the MOQs, which stands for minimum order quantity, and as well as the unit price. So this is something that you would have got an estimate on when you first started talking to the factory, and then later on, after you make your first sample, will you get sort of the final quoted unit price for your order. And typically the minimum order quantity to work with a factory in China is around 100 on average. Some factories will definitely let you do 50 units. However, the unit price will go up significantly. So it's within your best interest to try make 100. Otherwise the price might not be so economical. Speaking of price, the unit costs for hats probably range between like $3 to $8. It really depends on what you're making, whether that's a baseball hat, a beanie, something custom, something with a lot of embroidery, all this kind of thing can affect the price. And the best way you'll find out is I encourage you to talk to the factories, to go get your ideas reviewed and quoted for. So next we're going to be talking about payment and lead times. And specifically with payment, I want to talk about payment terms. So something that I've recently been doing, which I do recommend, is to not pay 100% of the total order fee upfront, which is what I used to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. However, there are advantages to not doing that. So typically what you want to do is work out a payment term with your supplier. That might look like 50% of the total order upfront, and then another 50% after they've finished production, but just before they ship it out. So they still hold the goods and you will have sent 100% of the payment. The reason I do this is for two reasons. In a business, holding your cash and having cash flow is king. You don't want to just have them hold it for long periods of time where they are producing your product. But also I find that actually it's very beneficial to have that 50% in reserve so that it gives them encouragement and an incentive to finish your order quickly. And if there's anything wrong with it, you have a little bit more power or bargaining power as to sorting out these problems because you still haven't paid the full amount for your products. And on to lead times, I've found that lead times are usually around 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the factory and depending on the product. Sometimes I've had disasters where it's gone, maybe up to 6 to 8 weeks in production. That's during a really peak time and just like the worst case scenario, but typically you'll find 2 to 4 weeks to mass produce your products. And sampling can take, 1 to 2 weeks you may want to expect. 1 week if you prompt them to rush it. Anything can usually be done with a bit of money incentive. If you want to offer them more for a faster rush sample, they will probably accept you on it. When dealing with factories in China, you can negotiate. So like at the beginning of the video, I mentioned you'll be talking to loads of different factories. You can definitely talk to them again and sort of negotiate the price to get it a little bit lower if you see fit. Okay, now let's talk about actually getting the product from the factory to yourself, wherever you may be. So I work with like a full China business model, right? So that means I have a warehouse in China, they store my products, they ship them to customers. And also if I want a sample sent to myself, it goes through that warehouse. So I send it domestically to the warehouse and they forward the samples or whatever products I want to send to myself to me. If you're just starting up or this is the first time you're working to make any custom products, likelihood is, it's not feasible or you don't want to set up with a warehouse in China right away. You want to just have the product sent to yourself. Maybe you will be doing fulfillment for the beginning of your business, which is something that I've done myself as well. The factory that you work with will be happy to send the product or the samples or the full bulk shipment to you directly using like any known shipping provider, let's say like FedEx or DHL. But I advise against this just because it is quite expensive. This will be like express air freight. It will come quite fast, but you will pay a hefty fee on it. What I find is better is to try find a freight forwarder. This is something that is going to be a huge benefit, especially if you start to conduct a lot of business with China and have a lot of parcels sent your way from China. It's a lot cheaper than working with like FedEx or DHL directly. And if you want to know more about how I use a fulfillment center in China, a 3PL, third-party logistics provider, then I'm sure I'll have another video about it. So please subscribe and check my channel for more. Okay, now I'm going to show you a real case study of a brand that is absolutely crushing it and how you can learn from them and mimic some of the things they do for success in your own brand. Okay, this is the brand that I want to show you about that I know is absolutely killing it with online sales right now. So the brand is called Two Frogs, and these are the custom hats that they make, which I think look really, really nice. And so right now on their website, I'm on the hats catalog section. So if I go to their shop all, then we can start to see all the different types of products that they've made. But importantly, if I go to sort by and click best selling, I will see which products on their website have sold the most out of all other products of all time, right? And so what we find is that their 9 hat designs are by far the most popular product. And so these hats are made exactly through the same factories that I was just talking about. In fact, the same designs, right? The same balaclava style beanie here and then a regular beanie. It's made through these factories in China. They can make them amazingly, right? And so how do I know that this brand is doing a lot of sales? It's through their social media Instagram page, right? So not only are they absolutely killing it on organic, so they have 146,000 followers, but whenever they post organic content, so these reels, we get a lot of views and a lot of engagement. And this all funnels back into traffic to the website and eventually conversions. I also know that they run a lot of paid ads because I seem to be a recipient of all these ads. And so I had a look on their meta ad library for all the different ads that they're running. So these are paid promotions that they're running. It only seems to be for these hat products, right? They make lots of different videos, lots of different ads all about it. And something really, really important to see, and something that a lot of online e-commerce people know, is the age of the ads. So these particular ads started running on October 17th, 2024. And so the month now is February. So that means these ads have been active and live for about 4 to 5 months. And no brand would continue paying to have ads shown for 4 to 5 months unless they weren't profitable. So that means that this particular ad, this particular product, whenever they pay Meta, whenever they pay Facebook to promote it, then they're getting a profitable return on it whenever they get customers and purchases from their store. And with the sheer number of followers and the sheer number of likes and engagement that I see on these ads, I know that they must be doing a lot of traffic, probably doing purchase orders of these products for, upwards of like 10,000 units per design would be my guess. Sorry, maybe not 10,000 units per design, but easily 10,000 units total or above. And when you start working with larger quantities with these factories in China, they will reduce the price significantly. So the price for 100 beanies versus the price for 1,000 beanies, you may get a significant discount. It just helps with your economies of scale and further improving the efficiency and profitability of your online business. And now one of the last things I wanted to show you was, this is a screenshot that I took from my Fulfilment Center platform. Right, so I blurred a lot of the sensitive details, but in the SKU, so the stock keeping unit, you can see that it was a hat that I sent out to a customer. And what I want to show you here is the breakdown of the cost, right? So here is the cost for me to send a 109 gram parcel, right? So how they ship it or how they package it and ship it from a Chinese third-party logistics warehouse or fulfillment center is they use these bubble mailer bags, right? So they'll put your item in it, then they would take the weight of this final product, and your shipping costs will be heavily affected by this weight, but it's broken down into 3 sort of different categories or 3 different segments of the price. So first we have the price by weight, right? So this is using a different shipping line, right? Whether I'm shipping to US or UK, the price will be different depending on the weight, and UK is cheaper than shipping to the US. Then we have a pick and pack handling fee, right? Which is 4 RMB. And then we have a registration fee. So this just means how much it costs you to even sign up or to get a package on this line to begin with. So registration, pick and pack fee, which is like a fixed 22 RMB for whatever I'm going to be sending to USA. And then we have a price depending on the weight. And so if I'm sending a lot heavier package, right? So if it was like 1 kilogram instead of 100 grams, then this cost here would be a lot more. But what's remarkable here is the total cost, right? So we have 34.5 RMB. And so to do a little currency conversion for you, this is only 4.76 US dollars, including tracking, right? So you get tracking number. This also includes the last mile tracking number. So you get a tracking number from when it goes from China directly to the customer internationally, but you also get a last mile tracking number, which is, let's say, just a US specific tracking code with like USPS or whichever the nation's main shipping partner is with the 3PL. So super, super affordable, super, super economical. And it's just the amazing way that I've built out my businesses online through making custom products and shipping them through these warehouses in China. So in terms of selling these online, I would definitely recommend setting up on some of the easy platforms to get started on. That includes Etsy and then Amazon and eBay, that kind of thing. I do highly recommend that you start a website. And so I've made custom websites for my own brands using WordPress, WooCommerce, and then also Shopify. And I 100% recommend Shopify for all new people starting out an online business. This is a video just to talk about how to actually make your custom product and a little bit about the logistics of how to store it and ship it from China. If you want to know more about storing and shipping from China, please check out some of the other videos that I will have. And I will try to separate and keep the marketing side or tips and advice to actually sell your products online for other videos as well. But I wish you the best of luck in making your own custom hats. And thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you found it useful